what you came to see. Oh! Down in front. Forward. All over and over and over and over and over. Everybody go back to their seats. Everybody go back to their seats, please.
Well, I guess the first observation, Danny, is that people must be pretty happy to see you looking pretty good and on the road to recovery.
Yeah, we've heard from a lot of people. The response has been just great, and I would like to thank everybody for all the cards and phone calls we had, and it's something I not want to go through again. I hope nobody else has to.
Now, going through it, kind of a painful experience. Are you in a lot of pain now?
Now is not so bad. The last week's been pretty good, but it was really sore the first couple of weeks and even the week after that. But we're starting to get back on the road, and, you know, we can't work yet. That's still pretty painful to move around and stuff, but we'll be back there pretty soon.
Our thoughts are, of course, with the O'Brien crew right now.
I understand you've still not seen the full videotape of this crash. It's one of the scariest I've ever seen. Are you sure you want to watch it?
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. I would like to see it, and hopefully nobody will have to go through this again.
The first shot's taken from the tower camera. Now look at it from the inside of the speedway. Right there, that's your helmet.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought your head was still in there.
I'm glad it wasn't. From the shot, it almost looked like something broke on the O2 car to put him up high.
Could you see the 63 actually there in the air?
Everything happened so quick, I don't recall that. I remember coming out of 4 onto the front stretch, and I remember waking up just before we arrived in Watertown in the ambulance. But he was up just high enough. The way the roof comes down on the cars, I couldn't see him up there, no.
The car is virtually a convertible as we see it there. The roll cage has been stripped away. Have you gone down and taken a look at the race car since this happened?
Yes, I took a look at it the day after I got out of the hospital, and we just brought it home yesterday for the first time, and it's in bad shape, but for the way it got hit, you know, that's a 2,400-pound car that was in the air, almost stopped, and I was still at full speed, so the race car itself really didn't stand a chance. All in all, they are pretty safe cars, and I don't think it would have mattered what make it was. It wasn't going to take that.
Your brother Pat was one of the drivers parked on the back straightaway during the red flag while you were being treated on the front straightaway. Have you talked to Pat about what he was thinking during that?
He really didn't know what was going on for sure until the ambulance had me loaded up, and then they went over and told him. So he was back there, and there wasn't a lot of really good communication going on, so they didn't know exactly what was wrong with me, but he did know it was me involved and I was hurt, so I think he was glad they held it off for that night.
Ricky Wilson, perhaps the fiercest competitor up there, led the charge not to finish that race. Does that surprise you?
Ricky's a tough competitor, and you know, he's a little rough by times, but when it comes right down to it, he's got a lot of heart, and he stood up for me that night, and a lot of the drivers did, and you know, I got to thank all those guys for that.
What do you think it was about the helmet that made it come off during the impact of the crash?
The helmet is broke right from about 2 inches above the visor right to the bottom, and the visor did stand up, and I think that's played a big part in me living through it.
At first, a lot of people who were at Can-Am that night thought they had seen a fatal accident. Do drivers think about death?
I'm sure anybody that drives a race car, the thought crosses their mind at one point in time, but I don't think it's something you get afraid of, and if you are that afraid of it, I don't think you should be in a race car.
Your father was a race driver. Would you want your son to be a race driver?
I don't think I would ever stop him if he wanted to. You know, my father supported us all the way through, and, you know, this was a very tough deal on my mother and father and my whole family, the crew also, and I don't think I have the right to tell my son not to do it. If, you know, when I do have children, or if I do, if I have one that wants to race, I will support him.
Well, that piece was done about 2 weeks ago. Danny O'Brien, 2-6 still to come to this race today, although he's a guaranteed starter for it. I'm sure he's watching on television. Dan, how you doing? Another one of our friends in the racing fraternity, A.J. Romano, suffered similar injuries to O'Brien in a highway accident a week ago. AJ's in a hospital in Syracuse. I know you're watching today, AJ, too. I'm glad to hear the good reports. I know both Danny and AJ, although you're badly injured, you're on the mend. You're going to be racing next year.